Welcome to On the Road with Ranger Rose. I'm Roseanne McHenry, also known as Ranger Rose, a former U.S. National Park Ranger and also a former California State Park Ranger. I've been on trips all over the West, and I am so excited to share these adventures with you. Today, we are going to take a beautiful drive down Highway 395 through Nevada and California. Couple things that you'll want to bring along with you when you go on this trip are a map. Now, I know we have great online maps, but it's wonderful to have a paper map with you, and this is the best. It's a benchmark map, Highway 395, Carson City to Lone Pine. This is incredibly detailed and just a wonderful resource. And another thing, I've looked at several guidebooks on Highway 395. This is my favorite, Guide to Highway 395. Los Angeles to Reno by Jenny Clark. It is filled with maps and pictures and stories and information about the hundreds of things that there are to see along this absolutely spectacular highway. So, how do we get onto Highway 395? Take Highway 80 east to Reno, and then once you're in Reno, watch for the signs that say Highway 395 south towards Carson City. Hook a right, and you're on your way. So just a quick overview of what we're going to cover. We're going to cruise down Highway 395 and immerse ourselves in Eastern Sierra Splendor. To link into this spectacular highway, take, like I said, Highway 80 to Reno, and then head south towards Carson City, which will be our first stop. Then we'll be making stops in the towns of Bridgeport, Lee Vining, Bishop, and Lone Pine. Then we'll head on south to many amazing places, and all along the way we're going to visit fascinating little towns, outdoor hot springs pools, a world famous bakery, a museum of modern film history, and the place right next to it where over 400 movies were made in the Alabama hills right outside Lone Pine. We'll hike into lake basins in the Eastern Sierra and camp at the foot of Mount Whitney, one of the tallest peaks in America. We'll visit Bodie Ghost Town, and we'll be taking also a look at the alien-looking tufa towers of Mono Lake Basin. We'll see an ancient bristlecone pine forest with trees that are over 4,000 years old. And we'll head south to stunning Red Rock Canyon. So put on your traveling shoes and let's head out together. Aspen leaves shimmer like gold coins against the indigo desert sky of the Eastern Sierra. This segment of Highway 395 between Lone Pine and in Carson City, Nevada, is some of the most spectacular scenery in the West. Tall peaks stretch all the way up to 14,000 feet and plunge straight down into the Eastern Sierra valleys, making for some of the most beautiful panoramic scenery in the entire country. You could literally spend a lifetime enjoying this region, but we'll be visiting some really fun places. So starting with Carson City, Nevada, it is the capital of Nevada, and it was once the hub of the Comstock mining silver boom in the late 1800s. Named for the mountain man and explorer Kit Carson, it hasn't changed a whole lot in the last 50 years, and that's what makes this place so fun to visit. When you go into Carson City, grab one of the maps of the historic district and just walk back a couple of blocks on the east side of town, the west side of town, into the old historic district. Get out of your car and walk around past some of the beautiful houses there. And of course, one of our favorites is a house where they filmed the John Wayne classic film called The Shootist. Now, this was the last movie he ever made, and he starred with Lauren Bacall and Ron Howard. It's a movie about an aging gunfighter who's come down to his last hurrah, and this house that they filmed was the boarding house in the movie. So definitely make that stop. You can stop right outside, take pictures, and enjoy the beautiful scenery. You can also walk past the historic governor's mansion, but wherever you walk back through there, it is just so picturesque. You'll feel like you're in a movie yourself. The Nevada State Railroad Museum is just at the south end of Carson City, and it offers exhibits, train rides, all kinds of railroad memorabilia. And there's a harvest train festival every autumn. And during Christmas time, there's a Santa train. So yes, they do steam train rides out of there. And you could spend a whole day looking at this place. It's absolutely fascinating. Now, just a fun story about this. I used to be a ranger at the California State Railroad Museum in Sacramento. And I trained to become a brakeman. So I was out there in my blue jeans and blue shirt, giving hand signals to the engineers, switching track and coupling and uncoupling engines and cars. It was a fascinating experience. And I have to say, there are railroad museums all over the West. So if you're interested, you can become a volunteer, and I can't encourage you enough. Who knows? You might end up being an engineer on an old train. So definitely visit Carson City, and for more information on Carson City, just visit travelnevada.com. The nearby historic town of Genoa, Nevada, just a few miles away from Carson City, is the longest ongoing settlement in Nevada. This is a collection of beautifully preserved late 19th century buildings with names like the Thirst Parlor Saloon. I love that. And also there's a restored courthouse, and you can visit the Mormon State Station, the Mormon Station State Historic Park. And this is now a heritage museum featuring exhibits about early settlers in the region. And one of the fascinating exhibits there that I saw was one on Snowshoe Thompson. Now, this was a Norwegian-born skier who came to the region back in the late 1800s. And do you know he delivered the mail over the Sierra with 10-foot-long skis in places where even mules couldn't go in wintertime. He did this for 20 years, between 1856 and 1876. He's known as the father of modern skiing in America because he taught a lot of Americans how to ski and cross-country ski back then. So definitely check out the exhibit on Snowshoe Thompson while you're there at the Mormon Station State Historic Park. As you continue south on Highway 395, you'll come to the little town of Bridgeport, California. Bridgeport is famous for nearby Bodie State Historic Park, a gold mining ghost town preserved by California State Parks ever since 1962. This National Historic Site was a former gold mining boom town when gold was discovered there back in the late 1800s, and it had over 8,000 residents. But the great thing about Bodie today is you can walk up to all these different buildings and peer inside, and it looks like somebody just stepped away because it's preserved in a state of arrested decay. That means it hasn't changed since the state parks took over it in the mid-20th century. So it's an amazing place to visit. Now, about Bodie, a lot of times miners would say, "Goodbye, God, I've gone to Bodie," as they were heading into the Bodie Hills. And they wondered if they'd ever come back because it was a place of murderers and thieves and dozens of saloons, but it also was filled with gold. Bodie also is like a vortex of terrible weather. And another funny story, I used to be the chief ranger at the Gold Discovery Park in Coloma, California, and one of my rangers loved Bodie so much he could not wait to transfer from Coloma to Bodie. Well, he lasted one season. After one winter, he transferred back out of there. Most of the staff do not live there longer than one season. So goodbye, God, I've gone to Bodie. Absolutely. But for a day trip on a sunny day, it's beautiful. There's 2 roads that lead out from Bridgeport that will take you out to Bodie. Back in Bridgeport, after all that driving around, you might feel like a hot soak, so there's 2 beautiful hot spring sites. One is just in the south end of Bridgeport. Take Jack Sawyer Road up a hillside. You'll come to a parking lot with a loop trail that'll take you out to several different travertine hot springs pools, and you'll have a beautiful view of the valley below. And another nearby hot spot is the Buckeye Hot Springs. So you just take Twin Lakes Road right out of Bridgeport, just a couple miles away, turn on Buckeye Road and follow it out just a short distance to a parking lot. Don't worry about remembering all this. You can just Google Buckeye Hot Springs. It'll tell you how to get there. But it's definitely worth the short drive. You hike a trail down to the river, and there are several beautiful hot pools there. Now, water's coming out of the ground at almost 150 degrees, pours over Travertine Waterfall. But there's beautiful pools below, all different temperatures. absolutely a wonderful place to stop for a hot soak. You can camp at nearby Buckeye Campground, at Twin Lakes Resort, or stay at several different lodging options in Bridgeport. South of Bridgeport are the towns of Lee Vining, Mammoth Lakes, and Bishop. So as you're leaving Bridgeport, and you're going to eventually come up onto Conway Summit. This is a spectacular climb where you'll see beautiful vistas, and you'll see a road on the right that says Virginia Lake 6 miles. If the weather is good and there's not snow on the road, definitely drive up there, because you'll see a whole circle of beautiful deep blue lakes set against the bright snow on eastern Sierras, and it's stunning. And during the summer, the spring and the fall, you can hike up in there, and it's absolutely drop dead gorgeous. Just south of Virginia Lakes, as you're coming down over Conway Summit, you'll see a big turnout on the right and a panoramic view below of Mono Lake. It is an absolutely drop dead gorgeous view. Now definitely pull out into this turnout, not only for the view, but just to get a sense of where you are. Funny story about this spot. Years ago, my husband and I, when we were traveling, and we had an old pickup truck with utility boxes on the back that opened out on the little table so you could work with tools. Well, we used that to pack our food and drinks. So we pulled into this turnout, we're making up sandwiches and pulling out sodas, and all of a sudden we look over our shoulder, and there's people pulling up all around us with money in their hands ready to give lunch orders. They thought we were a commercial lunch wagon. We didn't have the heart to tell them we weren't, so we started handing out snacks and drinks. We packed it up in a hurry and booted out of there because we didn't want our next customer to be the California Highway Patrol getting us for selling without a license. But it's funny the way that happened. But that's a beautiful vista. Then you'll wind down the mountainside along the shores of Mono Lake to the little town of Lee Vining. So how's the best way to get out to Mono Lake? Go through the town, take South Tufa Road. It's a lovely gravel road, take you right out to the shores of the lake and right up to the Tufa Towers. Now, what are Tufa Towers? There's actually a picture of them on the front of this book that I was recommending, Guide to Highway 395. And they're these great big tall towers of calcium carbonate rock that's bubbled up out of the lake. Mono Lake is 3 times saltier than the ocean. It's been evaporating for years and leaving behind these large deposits of calcium carbonate tufa towers. They look like alien monsters. You'll feel like you're on another planet as you walk around and get up close and personal. And if you decide to swim in the lake, you'll be buoyant because it's so salty you won't even have to try to float. So these tufa towers stand sentinel over the lake, and down in the lake there's these tiny little brine shrimp, and they're great because they attract a huge variety of shorebirds. So if you love seeing birds, Mono Lake is a great place to go for that. So, and whoa, be careful when you're walking out there. Stay on the trail. My husband and I made the mistake of stepping off the trail, sunk in the mud, and the salt in the mud destroyed our boots. They literally disintegrated 6 months later. So stay on the trail or take your shoes off when you walk out towards the lake. The little town of Lee Vining on the shores of Mono Lake is really charming, and it is famous as being the gateway to the eastern road, Tioga Road, that takes you up over into Yosemite National Park. Check the road conditions to make sure the road is open before you venture out, or there'll be a sign there telling you it's closed. But when it's open, it is a stunning climb right up over the top of the Sierras, down past Tenaya Lake. It'll take you right into Tuolumne Meadows, and you can hike out there for a day and come right back into Lee Vining for the evening. And when you get back into Lee Vining, you might be hungry. I've got a wonderful recommendation for a place to eat. There's a restaurant called Nicely's. And when you walk into this place, it's like stepping back into the mid-20th century. You slide into a cozy booth, and you can order food like roast beef with mashed potatoes and gravy, or you can get soups and stews and all kinds of delicious home-cooked food. And the dessert menu, it's to die for. You can get homemade bread pudding, homemade pecan pie. Don't miss stopping at Nicely's. It's just an amazing place. Back in Lee Vining, there's also many lovely little shops right across the street from Nicely's where you'll find things homemade crafts that you won't find anywhere else. A lot of them are Native American made and definitely worth taking a look at. There's also a visitor center at the south end of town with stunning views of Mono Lake and the surrounding area. Further south from Lee Vining are the June Lakes and the Mammoth Lakes. Now, don't miss taking the June Lakes loop. As you're heading south towards the Mammoth Lakes region, take the June Lakes loop. It's probably about a 12 or 14 mile loop that takes you past several beautiful indigo lakes set against the snow-capped eastern Sierras, and it's just gorgeous back in there. You can drive past these lakes, you can get out and hike, fish, swim if it's warm time of year. And at the south end of this loop is the little town of June Lakes with everything in terms of amenities and places to stop and dine and shop. And then it loops right back into 395 and you're on your way to the beautiful Mammoth Lakes region. Now, I went up and down 395 several times and I didn't even know the town of Mammoth Lakes was back there. It's hidden by the trees. So take the turn for the Mammoth Lakes Highway and the first thing you'll see is a sign for the visitor center. Definitely get out of your car and stop there. It is filled with great maps and information, books and exhibits, and very helpful staff. Definitely pick up the free lake of Mammoth Lakes and then head up through town and all the way up to the top of the hill to the Mammoth Lakes Road and take a beautiful auto tour around. You can drive past most of them. They are absolutely spectacular to see. You can also get out and hike to several more that aren't accessible by car, but just an absolutely beautiful place. And then, of course, after all that exploring, you might want a place to stop and get lunch. I highly recommend the Mammoth Brewing Company. They have a full range of amazing craft beers, but the best part about the Mammoth Brewing Company was their food menu. There's a chef who takes his culinary skills very seriously. And you know there's an item on the menu called the Damn Good Burger? Well, it lives up to its name. That is the best burger in the West. He said it was voted best burger in Mammoth. I'd say it's the best burger in the West, and I've been around a lot of burger places in the West. It's the best I've ever had. And of course, you can sit outside in the beautiful evergreen forest all around you. Really fun place. Oh, also in the Mammoth Lakes area is Devil's Postpile National Monument. This is an 800-acre national park featuring 60-foot tall columnar basalt. It is an absolute stunning thing to see. There's also the 100-foot tall Rainbow Falls. Now that park is closed this winter. It will open next summer because they're rebuilding the road. So look for dates and times on the park website, and there's a shuttle that'll take you around to all of the best spots there in the park. But definitely worth going to Devil's Postpile. Coming back into Mammoth and crossing Highway 395, don't miss seeing the Hot Creek Valley. Now this is a stunning area. It used to be a popular bathing site during the 1970s, and I loved going there back then. It was so fun to swim out into a river that was alternately hot and cold. But things have literally been heating up since that time, and Mammoth is a much warmer area than it used to be. So walk down to the Hot Creek area. How do you get there? You turn off Highway 395 and head east out to the Hot Creek geothermal area. It's a 2-mile long gravel road. Park your car and hike down the trail to the river. Stay on the trail because you don't want to get a hot foot. There's hot gases coming out everywhere. A lovelier vision of hell you've never seen. It reminds me of Mount Lassen, and also of a mini Yellowstone, but it is a spectacular place to walk around. So don't miss Hot Creek geothermal area. And if you do want to dive into some hot springs in the area, there are several. There's a whole loop of hot springs that you can take in the same area. So heading south from the Mammoth Lakes area, you'll discover the towns of Bishop and Lone Pine. And along the way, you'll see a sign for the ancient bristlecone pine forest. Now this is a 26-mile road. Highway 168 will take you up to this amazing place. Before you get on that road, make sure you have a full tank of gas. Make sure you have food and water and warm clothing because it's cold up there at 6,000 feet. But definitely worth the trip. And no, your cell phone will not work up there. So again, have a map, know where you're going. But it's worth the trip because when you get up there, there are trees dating back over 4,000 years. In fact, the oldest tree is Methuselah, and it is over 4,800 years old. So some of the oldest living trees. These contorted ancient behemoths are a testament to survival in the harshest possible conditions. Be sure to pack some food before you go, because you'll want to hang out up there, and there's a campground about 5 miles outside of the park. And then heading down towards the town of Bishop. What a great place to make a base camp and then have day trips going out of there. There are so many different lake trails that you can hike up to. There's the Bishop Creek area, the Pine Creek area, there's McGee Creek, Rock Creek, there's so many. I particularly recommend the Bishop Creek area, and in particular the South Lake Trail up to Long Lake. But get familiar with the area. Look up, just Google trails to hike in the Bishop area, and you'll come up with dozens. Every single lake up there is absolutely stunning to hike to. If you are going to go up to a trail and there's been a little bit of snow or ice on the trail, put micro spikes on the bottom of your shoes. These are rubber and steel attachments you put on the bottom of your shoes with little spikes on the bottom. Will help you get traction on some of these trails if there's a little bit of ice. I did it and I was grateful I brought them. When you're coming back into town in Bishop, don't miss stopping at Schatz Bakery, S-C-H-A-T, Schatz Bakery, and you can't miss it. There's big signs. It has hundreds of different kinds of baked items like you will not find anywhere else. Go early in the morning though, because there's long lines at the register. But I always come out with my arms laden with loaves of bread and pastries to take home to family and friends. Well, after all that hiking around and eating and looking at tufa towers and hot springs, you might want to stop and jump in a hot pool. And just south of Bishop is a place called Keogh's Hot Springs, 2 miles off the highway. And you think, well, why would I go there? I've already been to all these other places. Because this is a resort that was built back in 1919. And it is beautiful back in there. There's an Olympic-sized warm swimming pool, so you can swim laps in water that's over 90 degrees. And there's a huge soaking hot pool that's probably about 102 degrees. It is wonderful. So you can go back and forth. 1 day rate will get you there, and you can stay in there all day. You can camp there. There are lodging options. Keogh's Hot Springs is not to be missed. Now we're going to head south towards the town of Lone Pine. And Lone Pine is just another amazing area where countless movies were made. And I'm talking in particular about the Alabama Hills. Now, where do you learn about this? Well, first stop off at the Museum of Western Film History in town. Pick up a brochure about the Alabama Hills. It will tell you all about the area and all about all of the places where movies were made. And you can drive right up to all of these different spots. You can camp right out there, right in the places where these movies were made. And I also recommend you pick up this brochure in the Museum of Western Film History. For a $2 donation, you can get the Movie Road brochure. Now this is a great little booklet. It has all kinds of maps, information, photos, and stories about all the different films that were done there. And I mentioned over 400 movies were made, a lot of them mid-20th century westerns, but also a lot of modern films like Iron Man, Star Trek, Star Wars, the movie Tremors about those giant worms popping out of the earth. Those were all filmed there. And you'll start to feel like a movie star yourself as you wander through the Alabama Hills. Weathered granite hills set against the steep backdrop of Mount Whitney makes for some of the most amazing scenery. That's why so many movies were made there. So regardless of where you go on 395, you're going to be amazed at the beauty of nature. Couple of beautiful side trips that you can take out of Lone Pine. The first one is down to Red Rock Canyon. If you head south on 395 and hook into Highway 14, just about an hour south, you'll come to Red Rock Canyon State Park. Now this 46,000 acre state park is amazing to see. Now, if you're an off-highway vehicle enthusiast, there's hundreds of miles of trails, and there's dozens of miles of trails that you can hike, a lovely campground, and don't miss going to Scenic Canyon. Beautiful Red Rock Canyon with amazing rock formations, again, where movies like Star Trek were made. Also at night, some of the most stunning night skies in the entire state. So don't miss Red Rock Canyon. Coming back to Lone Pine, another beautiful area to visit is Death Valley National Park. There's a road that will take you straight out to Death Valley, and it'll hook into Highway 190, which will take you right into the park. Again, check on road conditions because sometimes they're closed, but check. It's a beautiful way to get into Death Valley. And we're going to be talking about Death Valley in our next episode of On the Road with Ranger Rose. I really hope that you've enjoyed today's program. For more information, please don't hesitate to contact me at my email, rangerrose123@gmail.com. You can also visit my website at triptalesbook.com, where you can look up each of the 2 books that I've written about life as a ranger, and I'm also working on my 3rd book right now. And also you can find me on Instagram at Ask Ranger Rose. Now that's a good site to go to because I'm always posting new information about trips and travel. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I really look forward to our next episode when we go to Death Valley with On the Road with Ranger Rose. Until then, happy trails.